Welcome to the Driving Force Mastermind podcast, where we connect you with inspiring entrepreneurs and deconstruct the mindset, the habits, the tools that they use to build great businesses so that you can too. Today we're going to connect you with Amanda Aschinger, who's the president of Solstice Productions. Solstice Productions helps companies to craft compelling stories with video so they can scale their businesses, train their employees, and operate more efficiently. Today Amanda is going to share with us how moment-to-moment decisions can bring a business story to life. 2, how video storytelling can help any business achieve their goals. And 3, why you must do a deep dive of discovery before you ever even think about bringing a camera into your videos. So now let's get to it. So yeah, we're just going to jump right into it. Amanda,
Okay.
Just kind of fire some questions at you. I am sure you're going to have no problem with these questions and all that, especially based off of the script that you wrote. But so Sam and I and our audience really would just love to kind of get introduced to you and know who you are, what you do, where you're from, kind of what the business is. And so if we could just kind of get started there, I think that would be a great place to get moving. So tell us a little bit about you and the business.
Sure. So, Oleg and I have a very unique background for this industry. We both started off as actors. I have a degree in theater, and we met at an acting school in the Catskills of New York, and then lived in LA where we worked as actors for a while. And the thing that both of us really enjoyed about acting was the discovery portion, where you get to make all of the decisions about the world that the character is living in and why the character is doing what they do, and all of those little moment-to-moment decisions that really bring the story to life. So in, I think it was in the year 2000, we decided that, it's hard to make it as an actor. And your life is hoping that you get to get on set and say one line. And it's not really very fulfilling for someone who's a storyteller. So we decided to turn to production, and we moved to St. Louis, which is where my family is, because we thought, it'll be a little easier to get a business started in St. Louis. And applied for grant money to make a documentary. And we received the grant money and bought the gear that we would need, and figured we would have to learn how to use it. So I made a lot of cold calls. I asked people questions. I went to rental houses and asked people questions, and production houses. And long story short, we produced that documentary. It sent it out for distribution companies and had it picked up by a company out of New York and distributed internationally via broadcast and also as an on-demand service. So we were like, okay, great, we're documentary makers. So for a number of years, that's really what we did. We would develop concepts and either raise the money and produce the piece and then sell it off, or raise some money and then sell just the concept, or raise no money and decide that was a bad idea. That particular one nobody wanted. Well, it's the reality, right? It's like,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you come up with the product, and then you go out to market to see if anybody wants to buy it. So in 2014, and we worked that way for quite a while, where we would just come up with concepts and either find sponsorship or grant money or private donation investments, or whatever. And in 2014, our kids they were about to be 9 and 6, so 4 years. So they were 5 and 3, or 5 and 2 rather. And we were it's so unpredictable. It's a constant life of coming up with ideas and then hoping that one's going to stick. And we decided that was not a great way to raise a family. So we went to the 1,000 business owners that we had met over the years, and some of them we'd worked with always on the side. People would ask, can you do this thing or this thing for me? So we did have some corporate clients, but we turned to everybody that we knew and said, okay, you know what our skill set is. What could we do that would help you? And the business that we run today is really just built off of listening to our clients. What are their goals? What are their obstacles? Who do they need to speak to? and really getting to understand how storytelling and how video storytelling can help them to achieve their very specific goals. So it's been very satisfying. We get to learn about so many different industries and how things work, which is really cool. And it's so satisfying when you get to hear the result of how your story made a difference to somebody's life. So it's been a great change for us. I imagine that we'll be doing this for a very long time.
Well, I love the fact that, and it's probably the same story with so many entrepreneurs that start in one completely different area, thinking that that's going to be the path that they take, and wind up in a totally different arena than they ever thought they would be. And I haven't heard anyone that says, here's exactly where I started, and my plan went perfectly for the last 15 years, and here's where I am. So no one says that, which is great. So I'm glad no one is, because I know my path didn't do that. I'm glad to hear that yours didn't either, because I'm making sure I didn't do something wrong. So well, you mentioned that story and getting that, drawing that out of your clients. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, that seems like a pretty big thing that so many entrepreneurs miss, is to be able to tell their own story of how they got where they are, or what it is about their company that's so special. How do you guys do that?
It is a challenge. It's a process, and our theater training really plays a big part in that. We do a deep discovery with each of our clients before we ever bring in a camera or start sketching out an animation, or whatever it is that we're going to do. We sit down, we do, we call it a pre-interview, and it's just us asking questions and listening to the responses. So, a great example, we just finished an animation for a company that they're a printing company, and they have a new digital platform to help deliver to their clients, to make it a more seamless order and delivery process. And I went in to help them with their animation, and they had no idea really of what they wanted it to do, except they just needed to cut their sales cycle. It was taking them a really long time to explain how this thing works. They had to go in and do a full demo for the big team in order to get anybody even interested, and getting to that meeting is difficult. So I sat in a room with about 5 of their decision makers and asked them questions, and they all talked from different directions. So I was writing, I had ended up with, I think, about 4 pages of notes, and everybody had different ideas and different things that they thought were important to it. So that's the discovery portion. And then we go back, and often it's Oleg and I working together, because 2 heads can always look at something better than one. And so we went back and went through the notes, and as I'm explaining it to Oleg, I'm already making decisions, right, about how I'm going to translate what these 5 people said into one thing so that he understands it. And then together we put together a script and a storyboard. So we took 5 pages of notes in like an hour meeting with 5 people all talking at the same time, and turned it into a 1-page script, so a 1 minute, 60-second script. So sent it back to the client, and they said, oh, this is perfect. But it's really just a matter of how the filter works. And the filter works by understanding how to move an audience from where to bring an audience into the story. What's the start point? What's our end goal? So what do we want them to do? The call to action, that's our ending point. And how are we going to create the audience journey that takes them there in the most direct route possible? Because nobody wants to spend 10 minutes watching your video. So don't just go buy the equipment and start shooting video like we all do. I mean, isn't that what we all do first? That's what everybody does. Yeah. So we want to shoot video. Well, we need cameras. Yes. That's not the path. So that is not the path. So, and we see a lot of people doing that. And something interesting that we've been seeing over the last couple of years is that people who have been doing that will then, see our work and take a meeting with us, and they'll sit down and be like, well, we've been doing all this video, but we're not tracking it. We don't know if it's working. People, I don't know if no one really watches it. So tell me why would I pay you when I can do it for free and it's not really working anyway? It's not working because you're just running a camera. Right, it's not working because you don't have a strategy. So it really does matter. what's on screen matters. How it sounds matters. If you're not using a good microphone and it's difficult to hear, or the sound quality is not so good, then it does matter. It doesn't all have to be professionally shot. It doesn't all have to be gorgeous by any means. User-generated video can be great. As long as you understand what your goal is and you're still structuring those stories in a way that is going to be helpful, that's going to take your audience on a journey, then you really can use any camera. But it's important to know why you're doing the video, who you're doing it for, and what you want them to do after they watch it. So, I mean, that's really what we do.
It seems like that's the most important part, right? That structure, that's mission critical. If you don't have that right, nothing else matters.
If you don't have that right, then you're wasting time. So, yeah, I mean, I'd say that nothing else matters. Yes, people will watch a cat playing piano. I'll watch a cat playing piano. I like that too. But right. But I watch it for a certain reason, and I'm not going to go out and buy a piano because I watched a cat playing piano.
Good point.
So, yes. So it really depends on what your goal is. If your goal is strictly to entertain or to be silly or to participate in something like the Ice Bucket Challenge or whatever. I don't even know what's going on right now that people are doing video-wise for their culture. That kind of stuff, that's a fine goal, totally fine. But when you're looking at it as an investment in your business, it's going to help you to achieve a goal, whether it's shorter sales cycle or more prospects or better talent or increasing the productivity of your team through some internal video, then it matters greatly.
I well, I'm glad you brought that up because, I guess depending on what industry you're in or what your needs are with your business, you tend to think of video as the media to solve that problem. And I think most people relate to it as a sales video, something to sell more of their product. But you mentioned a lot of different other reasons that someone would create video for their business. What are some of those reasons that you really should use video in your business?
You can reduce customer service calls and the cost of customer service greatly when you put together some very good demos and product how-tos that can really help save money there. Recruiting is huge. Video for recruiting is becoming one of the biggest tools because top talent want to know who you are and they're going to research you before they would come in to apply or come in to speak with you. And so them being able to really dive in and understand the opportunity and the culture. And, I've been saying this as we're doing recruiting videos for the past few years, we talked to different clients. Culture isn't a chili cook-off. Culture is the opportunity that you create for long-term engagement with the client. That's what we believe because that's what we hear top talent saying to us, And it's important to be able to identify those things and to really understand, do we want to have fun at work? Yeah, of course, but what does that mean? And it means different things to different people, so understanding that's good. So what did I say? Recruiting top talent, reducing customer service costs, obviously sales and marketing, shortening the sales cycle. So once you do have an appointment with somebody, you can do some explaining of what your process is or who your people are, or, what are those things that are going to help someone make a decision to go ahead and work with you now. It's a number of different things, really.
No, there's a lot to this.
Internal training.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Talk a little bit about that. What do you mean internal training?
Yeah, so internal training, it'll really help to increase productivity if you can train everybody in a very consistent way. So we do a lot of training videos for manufacturing and so for some different types of construction firms as well, where employees are trained on the specific processes through video. It creates a higher rate of information retention, and it's going to help increase your productivity as well. So there's a number of different things. And you don't have to pay a trainer to come in every time because you'll have the same consistent training.
Yeah, so that is really neat. The consistency, I think, is what increased the productivity and the retention too. I'm sure because everyone learns the same message, and it's taught.
Yeah, and that can be a big fear when you have if you have an aging workforce. and which we run into a lot in manufacturing specifically. You have an aging workforce, and those people are great, but they aren't necessarily great trainers. They don't know how to train. So then you need to bring in outside people to train, and then you have to train the outside people. If you create training videos, then until your process changes, you don't need to create new ones. So they can have a pretty long lifespan, and it can take all that fantastic information that your 40-year employee has and translate it to your new incoming employees. I think it's a no-brainer.
All these sound like no-brainers. I mean, things that are huge problems in many businesses. And I'm curious. So, if we're speaking to many entrepreneurs, many business owners, and they all know like everything you mentioned here. They're like, yeah, I definitely need customer service, and of course I need recruiting, and yes, sales, marketing, obviously, and reducing sales cycle. And I never even thought about internal training. So, with all these different areas, is there like a set number of, I don't want to sound too simplistic, but I'm not expert in the industry, but like, is there like a set of, here's 40 videos that every business should have, or is it more like, here's the problem that you specifically have, and here's how video can address that issue? Is it more piecemeal, or is it more like a standardized package that you should kind of look in? How does that work?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We take the approach of getting to know each business owner and what their specific goals and needs are, each team that we work with. And the reason we take that approach is because you may end up with the same video, the same basic package of videos that everybody else has. But we want to look at your priorities, what's most important, what is going to help you the most today. Because we'd love to work with you for the next 3 to 5 years and create everything that you need, or longer, and create everything that you need and refresh them over time. But the reality is that you don't have an unlimited budget. And if I just say, here's the 40 that you need now, it can make your head spin. So I'd rather listen to you and find out what your priorities are, right, and make recommendations based on those priorities and based on your budget. Very early in our conversation with people, we ask them what they're tolerant, what's comfortable for them in a budget range, so that we can recommend a plan that fits in that. Because if you can't afford it, I can't provide it. So it doesn't make any sense for me to come in with I'm not going to come in, walk in the door with a $200,000 package when you have a $20,000 budget. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So,
sure.
So I think it's important to get to know every business owner that we work with, to create a list of priorities, to understand a budget that makes sense, and to work up a plan that's going to hit the priorities in the proper order.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, that's our approach. I don't know.
Yeah. So then, so you mentioned you get in there, you do this kind of massive interview, I guess, and get all this input. Then you go back to your office and you turn that into, in that example you gave, like a 1-page, 60-second script. So then what happens after that?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's for a project, right? We just talked about strategy, which is a little bit different than a project. So if we're doing a project, once we've decided what's the first project in your strategy, right, then we do the info dive on that given project. We go back and we create either a plan if it's going to be interviews, or a script if it's something that's scripted, like an animation or a scripted. You could definitely do something that's scripted and still shot live action. So we go back and create that document so that everybody can take a look at it and see what is the message and what's it going to look like. What's actually going to be in this 60 to 90 seconds or however long it is. We send that over to the client so that they can review it and make sure that we did capture what they said. We did get the essence of what they said. There's sometimes a little bit of back and forth there to refine and make sure that it's perfect. In the case of an animation, after that we start building assets, which are the models, the images that are going to appear in the animation. So we start building those and we send them through to the client so that they can make sure that the visual concept matches up with their business. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the explainer animation that everybody else has, and that when you first see it, you have no idea what the business is because it looks like everybody else's explainer animation. Personally, I feel like if you're going to invest in video, it should look, feel, and sound like you, because your business is different than everybody else's. So anyway, that's my opinion. So we send out those assets so that people can see and make sure that we did capture what they wanted and we did capture the essence of their business. And then we start building scenes, and we usually will send that through to a client as more or less a completed project, because they've seen the assets, they've seen the script, and then we'll send them the full 60 seconds so they can look at it and review. We typically at that point do not have very many changes. There might be, a handful of changes that the client requests at that point, and then we deliver a finished project. So a typical animation project is about 6 to 8 weeks from start to finish, from the first meeting till they have it in hand. We've done them in as few as 3 weeks when somebody had a trade show that they forgot to tell us that they needed the animation by a certain date.
Of course, I need it done yesterday. I'm sure you get those. Yeah, I love that. Oh, this has been on our list, and it's 3 weeks away. Okay, yeah, it's a good time to call. But we've built a business that's meant to be nimble and able to work with our clients, whatever their needs may be. So we do our, we do deliver on time when we need to do those. We don't sleep. But if it's going to be something that's filmed, then we'll come up with the production plan. Once we do the discovery meeting, then we come up with the production plan, either who's going to be interviewed, what kinds of stories are they going to tell, what are we going to focus on in their interview, or we do a script and we write out what kind of scenes, what are we going to be filming to support the story that's in this script, this voiceover, or a script that's delivered by an actor, or whatever the case might be. And we send that to the client. But either way, there's paper documents that go back and forth so that the client has, along the way, they know what to expect next. You're not just sitting and waiting for a few weeks. But the only thing that you really need to do as a client is read the documents, look at the images that we send, watch the videos when we send the videos, and reply, let us know. We don't ask you to do any of the creative unless you really want to. And then we'll work with your creative to make sure that it works. Yeah, that's probably a blessing, actually, to most business owners, because I know when we've all created videos for our own companies that, you mentioned it's a project. I don't think we look at it initially as a project. We think of, grab the camera and press the red button, and then we start going that way without any thought to a script, an entire plan, and all that goes into this. And so I love the fact that this becomes a full project, and you understand that there's a whole lot more to this. If you want the results that you're trying to get out of this, if you just want to turn the camera on and walk around, that's one thing, but that's not what you're looking for. In this case, this is an actual, tangible, concrete end result that you're trying to accomplish here, and so it requires an entire project management to get this accomplished right.
Yeah, that's correct. And if you want to show, we love to go in and interview team members, owners, customers, anybody, that you want to throw in front of the camera for us. We love to interview them. We've interviewed thousands of people, so we have a process for that as well. No, it's not scripted. It's different. It's not scripted. But we're directing the interview to get the result, to get the story that drives the result. Right. So you could throw anybody there to ask questions, and that would be, you could do interview style with anybody, but there is a difference in being able to listen to the responses and direct what you're going to ask next. We don't go through a list. We don't have a set list of questions. We have a goal of what is this person going to add? Where is this person going to add value to your story that's going to drive your result? So it's a different process for interviewing as well. That's also, I think it's important, as opposed to someone just talking.
Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, that's the the difference between a professional interview and somebody just talking on camera. Completely different, and it has to be driven, it has to be guided, and be able to react to those questions, so they know what's most logical to say next, and being asked the right questions, rather than you just start talking and saying it. Yeah.
And we find that people are a lot more comfortable. And we always tell people at the beginning of an interview, because that's a fear sometimes. I'd like to put my team on video, but I don't know what they're going to say, or they're uncomfortable on video, or whatever the case might be. But it's just a conversation. Are you really? Yes, we're directing it. We're listening. We do have a goal of what we want. We have an agenda when we're having the conversation. But for the person who's being interviewed, we really just want them to feel like this is a conversation, and we are very interested and engaged in what they are saying, so that they feel good and they'll open up more. So, so there should be absolutely no pressure on the person who's being interviewed. They should just expect to show up, look how they look when they meet a client, and look at us and answer our questions. That's it. And if they don't want to answer something, they can say, I don't want to answer that, which doesn't happen that often. But sometimes it does, and that's okay, because we have another question.
Yeah. We're not going to sit here. We know how to do this, and we'll ask you the right questions. Hey, Driving Force members, there's too much good stuff to put in just one episode, so we split it up into two. So make sure you tune into the continuation of our connection with guest Amanda Aschinger.